I am Dustin Abbott, and I'm here to give you my review of the Soundcore Liberty 4 Pro active noise canceling Bluetooth earbuds. Last year I reviewed the Soundcore Liberty 3 earbuds, and I gave them a bit of a mixed review. On the plus side, I love the sound quality. I love the very effective ANC in them. I thought the packaging was great, and the integration of software features through the app, I thought all of that was well integrated. At the same time, however, on the negative side, I had three primary disappointments. First of all, I found that I really wasn't able to get what I considered to be a great fit with them. And so, I worked with all the different variations, and it was just never all that fantastic. I also found that similarly, I didn't get a great fit in putting them back into the charge case, and that whole process was a little bit clunky. Long term, which didn't make it into my review, but I found long term that when using ANC, where I really kind of needed it, I found that I was a little bit disappointed with the overall battery life, and that if I was working, say, an outdoor project and putting in a day, that if I needed to use active noise cancellation because of my work environment, that there wasn't enough battery life to get me through everything that I needed. So definitely some pros and some cons. So when I saw that they had a new version of the Liberties coming, I at first was a little bit reluctant when I saw that they had moved to more of an AirPod style earbud with a stem on it. But it does seem to have solved a lot of the problems that I found with the Liberty 3s. The Liberty 4 Pros, they last longer, they sound even better, they charge faster, and they definitely fit better in my ear. And again, at $130 or less, they represent a really amazing value for what is a truly premium earbud. And because I have access to like AirPod 2 Pros, that I can say that I would actually prefer these in sound quality and performance and even in fit. So definitely some steps in the right direction. So let's talk about the features for a moment. As with the Liberty 3s, you do have a lot of different configuration options. But because of a different kind of design here, there isn't what they called the ear wings, kind of a secondary feature that helps to stabilize them in place, but rather what they do give you is a huge variety of different tips that will allow you to go from very small to fairly large to be able to get a better fit. I think that for myself, the reason why I get such a better fit with the Liberty 4s has a lot to do with the size of the housing. While I don't love having the stem, I think that the stem does solve a lot of the problems. What happened with the Liberty 3s is that because the housings had to be so large to give room so you can get all of the various sensors that need to be on there, needed to have room on there for adequate battery life, all of those different factors. The byproduct is that I actually found that the housing itself was just a little too big to fit into my ear cavity. And so as a byproduct, I never really could get an amazing fit out of them. Whereas pretty much right out of the box, I found that the Liberty 4 Pros fit just fine. I did experiment and found that moving one size tip actually helped me to get a little bit better in result, but definitely there's a lot of configuration options that are there. Also, the battery life has improved. So now we have a battery life rating of up to 10 hours or 40 hours when you look at the amount of time you can get off of the charge case itself. And so that's 10 hours not using ANC. It's 7.5 hours when using ANC, which means that we have got anywhere between 1.5 to 2 hours of additional battery life while using active noise cancellation. So that is long enough to be able to get in pretty much a full day if you're working on projects. Furthermore, the ANC has been improved. This is ANC 3.0. It's now powered by a total of 7 different sensors, and that includes a barometric sensor. If you're on a plane, it actually is detecting altitude, and so it can compensate even for that as a part of the noise cancellation. Pretty cool. It also features what they say up to 2 times faster charging, and that may not mean a lot to you, but this probably will. Only a 5-minute charge gives you up to 4 hours of additional playback time, which is pretty fantastic, even if you get to a place where you're running out of battery life potentially on a really long day. Pop them back into the case for a very short amount of time. I mean, frankly, your ears could probably use a break anyway. And you can get up to 4 additional hours of playback even after just 5 minutes. So that is fantastic. Also, the earbuds do have an IPX5 rating. And if you're not familiar with the IP ratings, an IPX5 rating means that they are weather resistant, sweat proof, rain proof, or flash proof. And so what that means is that they can handle any kind of water being thrown at them, but what they don't have is any kind of long-term submersion rating. And so don't drop them into the toilet or into the bathtub, someplace where they're going to be submerged for a long period of time. They probably could handle a brief dip, but I wouldn't leave them in for any length of time. So a lot of great features there that are a part of the design now. So how did I use them? Well, first of all, I use them in the way you actually use earbuds. I think that's probably the most important. So that's listening to music playback, audiobooks and podcasts, things like that. For video, movie type playback. I use them while working. I use them on telephone calls. I use them while using my very loud power toothbrush. I've got a great Braun power toothbrush, but when you have that thing inside of your head, it sounds like a jackhammer's going off. And most of my earbuds in the past that I've put in, I just turn off, particularly if I'm listening to a podcast while I'm brushing my teeth, because it's just so much noise inside my head that essentially I can't hear what I'm listening to. These are the first of the noise cancellating earbuds that I've used that I can actually hear a podcast while brushing my teeth. So, I mean, kudos to them on that. I use them while working in environments that had a lot of background noise. I use them, this is an important one for me, I use them while taking a nap, while other people were talking and doing other things, and for me to be able to kind of block out all the environmental sound and maybe just have something either quietly playing. Sometimes even I'll listen to a podcast, and if I've listened to your podcast and fallen asleep during it, it's in a good cause, I promise you. I've used them for Zoom meetings. I've even used them for watching, say, a basketball game in my jacuzzi tub and being able to block out the sounds of jets so I could actually hear the audio. So a lot of different varieties of situations that I've tested. So in the course of doing that, here's what I've liked along the way. Audio quality is outstanding for both music and video. It is probably the best audio quality that I have had in an earbud to this point. What I find is that there is really a really nice blend. So there's a lot of low end, and so you get really great bass response, but it's not like the cheap earbuds where you just feel like that's just been artificially boosted at the cost of overall good sound quality. There's just a really nice nuance across the kind of the whole audio range, but while still having really solid low end. And so the audio quality is great. It means that if you're watching a movie, for example, the soundtrack is going to be very dynamic, but you're still going to have very nice voice placement and sound effect placement. So all of that is really fantastic. Both generations of these Soundcore buds, I have found that the overall Bluetooth range is really excellent. I'm able to, kind of roam farther away from my phone or tablet or whatever without losing connection. And that's sometimes going from with the device inside the house to moving outside the house. To be able to do that without losing the Bluetooth connection is fantastic. Like most of the modern, decent quality Bluetooth buds, it does have dual connection mode, so that means that you can connect to multiple devices simultaneously. That is usually mostly good because you don't have to, manually disconnect from one to connect to another. But it also means that sometimes, for example, if I am working outside and I have my phone with me, but if I get close enough, it's starting to connect to my iPad. That can be a little bit of annoying. You can hear the connect and disconnect sound. It's not a big deal, but it just kind of pulls you out of the immersiveness of the moment. I really think it's fantastic how much control you have over the quantity of active noise cancellation that you've got here, either going towards the transparency end or where you're completely trying to isolate on the other end. And so you have basically what amounts to about 11 steps with a number 5 position, so basically 5 degrees in each direction. So towards transparency or towards complete isolation, with your normal mode with no active noise cancellation falling right between those. And you also have a unique way of accessing that from the actual case itself. Obviously you can do it from within the app. You can switch through the basic modes just by clicking on the earbud itself, but you also have this touchpad on the front of the charge case, and then also an LCD screen that will pop up on the charge case itself that will allow you to use that to kind of slide in either direction for just so it's one more way of controlling the active noise cancellation. Also, the active noise cancellation here is probably the best that I have ever had. You can actually hear, if you're kind of working on the charge case, you can actually hear the silence build if you're working towards isolation, for example. Or you can actually hear the boosting of sounds and environmental sound if you're going towards transparency mode. In both directions, you can see that the sensors are working really, really effectively. And what I find is that they're more effective if it's, for example, I sometimes will use these while I'm using power tools and kind of use them even to protect my ears. And one of the things that I found is that some earbuds, they just don't handle some of the noises that come off power tools very well. These are actually, because they're sampling so quickly and so often, they actually do a pretty effective job of dealing with that. And so that's really, really great. I actually find it very, very cool to go through their Hear ID modes where it's actually testing your hearing. So either you can do that in an environment where you're wanting to really have a dedicated profile where you're blocking out sounds, and to be able to be in that environment and block out the sound is very cool. I also found it very cool that in a silent environment to take their hearing test, and so it's actually determining what frequencies you hear and can't hear, and it actually gives you feedback on what your hearing's at. As a middle-aged man, it's kind of a cool thing to have access to, and it seemed to work quite effectively. Another thing is very cool is that you can build custom equalization settings that are calibrated to your actual hearing. And so again, all of these things kind of work together to give you a really, really great sound experience in a wide variety of sound environments. And so I think that is really, really cool. Having an effective transparency mode is great in mitigating conflicts with my wife, who does not love if she speaks and I don't hear. And so if there is any chance of that, being able to put that into a transparency mode is good for my marriage. It also allowed me to effectively block out the sounds of the jets and the jacuzzi and watch video content. I also like the fact that you have really, really precise. I mean, we're talking not just percentage points, but actually a percentage of a percentage point to see what your charge level is. I found that transparency mode works well during Zoom meetings. I don't know about you, but I really hate if I'm in like a Zoom meeting or Google Meet or something like that. If I'm so isolated to where I feel like everything is in my head, that to me, it's a really disconcerting feeling. And so I like actually being able to use a transparency mode to get a little bit of environmental sound so I don't feel so kind of disconnected. And so I like that. I also really appreciate that they have solved what was one of my main concerns with the previous generation, in that there's a very definite magnetic seating and charging that takes place. You don't feel like you have to kind of fiddle in there to make sure that the points are aligned, but they really just kind of snap into place. And so that's great. And as mentioned already, the fact that I can actually hear while I'm brushing my teeth, that's a step in the right direction. Were there things that I didn't like? Well, for me, and I recognize this, your mileage may vary if you're coming from more of an AirPod background. This is the first of their buds that I have used where rather than using a tap on it, I'm going to the squeeze or pinch type mode, more like an AirPod use. To me, it felt a little less precise. And I recognize that they're saying they moved to that method, in part because they have the stem and you can do that, but also that it creates less kind of false positives in terms of accidental bumps or whatever. And that may be true. I just find that more likely when someone's trying to talk to me, and maybe if I've not been in a transfer and I need to stop the content, I'm finding that I'm squeezing and not always being able to do that as responsibly as what I would like. I also, while the touch bar, all of these kind of things, they're cool in a sense. As far as the actual precision, I would say that probably buttons would actually work more precisely than the touch bar. I remember when Canon did this, kind of introduced this on the first EOS R camera, and they had this touch bar in there, and frankly, most of us just kind of hated it. So anyway, it's not a big deal here, but I think that just a button in either direction would probably have been a simpler solution and maybe even a more precise solution. So my conclusion is this: at a price point of $129, if you're paying full pop, obviously a lot of times there might be discounts or sales that will get you even cheaper than that. But even at the full MSRP, I feel like these represent a really strong value at that price. These are better earbuds than a lot of the premium brands out there. They're better earbuds in terms of the battery life, better earbuds in terms of the sound quality, better earbuds in terms of the fit, and even better earbuds in terms of the quality of the active noise cancellation. Soundcore really delivers a lot of bang for the buck, and I've really come to respect what they're able to accomplish with the brand. The Liberty 3s, I didn't love in every way. The Liberty 4s, I have to say that these are probably going to be my daily drivers. I've got a lot of earbud options to choose from. I'm really liking these, and until someone dethrones them, it's probably going to be what's sticking in my ear for a while. And so if you're looking for a great sounding active noise cancellation earbud that, you know, isn't necessarily like budget price, but kind of maybe a mid-tier price, but giving you a premium quality, look no further than the Liberty 4 Pros. They really are fantastic. If you want more information, you can look in the description down below. Will be some buying links, place where you can go and just kind of gather more information if you want to see that. Link to an article I put together with my review notes. And as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and let the light in.